Hello everyone and welcome back to my Senate prediction videos for the Senate elections going on across America this year in 2020. And we're going to take a look now at another Senate race that is going on across America, and one that at the beginning of the cycle people believed might be one of the few chances that Republicans had uh, for a pickup, and that is the state of Michigan. It is a seat currently held by the Democratic Party and Senator Gary Peters. Peters is in his first term, and in 2014, Peters won election to the Senate by 13 percentage point in a year that was a really good year for Republicans nationwide. So keep that in mind. Uh, Donald Trump, of course, won the state in 2016 by less than 1 percentage point, actually less than a quarter of a percentage point, 0.23%. Most political observers, though, believe the political winds have changed in Michigan in the past 4 years, and now most people see that Michigan is most likely going to be a Biden state. The Trump campaign has pulled a lot of resources out of Michigan and are focusing them elsewhere, and they believe that Michigan will fall back into the Democratic column this year. And it was a very close win for Trump in 2016 in Michigan. Let's take a look at the two nominees. Senator Gary Peters, as I mentioned, is of course the Democratic nominee, the incumbent senator, and Senator Peters is one of the less high-profile members of the Senate. He's a motorcycle rider. He really doesn't make a lot of national news because he doesn't go on the cable shows and make himself out to be someone that he's not. And that really plays to his advantage in the state of Michigan in some ways. In some ways it does, because the Republicans have played this game. Oh, he's been your senator for 4 years and no one's ever heard of him. Well, I think some voters may appreciate that their voter doesn't know the quickest route to the Fox News green room, or the quickest. They're not all the time on television. They're actually doing the nuts and bolts work that they were elected to do in Washington, D.C., serving their constituents. The Republican nominee is a gentleman by the name of John James, and he was the 2018 nominee for Senate in the state of Michigan, and ran a really good race against incumbent Senator Debbie Stabenow, and made that race really competitive. Of course, it was a Trump state in 16. Republicans poured a lot of resources into the race, thinking this could be a potential pickup for them. But in the closing weeks and months of the campaign, it kind of became apparent that Stabenow was pulling away, and she ended up winning by 6.5 percentage points. But on a night that was a good night for Democratic candidates nationally and for Democrats in Michigan especially, John James' performance really said that he had a potential future in Republican politics in the state. And he decided to run against Peters this cycle. Mr. James is a former member of the military. He achieved the rank of captain and served in the Iraq War, and is a real great example of a good candidate that has been recruited by the Republican Party. He's also an African American, so he grows the party. All in all, he is a great candidate for the Republican Party to get to show they are expanding their base and their reach. Um, although I don't think Mr. James is going to be as successful. If you go off primary ballots cast in this election, 54% were cast for Democrats and 45% were cast for Democratic candidates. And something interesting that happened in 2018, about 52% of the ballots in the primary were cast for Democratic candidates. That's exactly the number of percentage that Debbie Stabenow got. She got about 52.42%, if I remember correctly, of the vote. And sometimes you see trends, and that one really stuck out to me. And just combined with the national mood of the country this election cycle, just combined with everything else that is going on, I think that the fact that it's going to be a good Democratic year and the fact that Donald Trump is underwater in Michigan and is not doing well, I think Gary Peters' chances of holding on to his Senate seat are a lot. So that's why I say Gary Peters is reelected to a second term in the Senate and it's a Democratic hold. Has a great opponent. I think his opponent should have waited another cycle and ran for maybe a different office, and he may have had more success because if he runs again, he may risk becoming a perennial candidate, and that's a position no one wants to be in. So I'll see you all later. Till then, toodaloo.